Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors, so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores, and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
I proudly voted 16 times in the last 30 days, and they tell me I can still vote 2 or 3 days after the whatever that is. It's not really an election day, because you can all vote beforehand, and you can vote afterhand. And that means it's kind of like a childish prattly operation where all of us who try to do the adult thing and vote on the voting day are made to look, well, like we're stupid or something because, well, we... Anyway, often vote early, and vote with all those other names on all those ballots that showed up in your mailbox. I'm sure that all the leftists are, and a whole bunch of other people, too, who aren't leftists. Anyway, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Hornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, west, northeast, south, and north. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on LibertyTreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube via live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, CONUS, the outlying 2 states, territories, and the clock. It is 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Beautiful, clear day from horizon to horizon. Now, there were planes in theory flying today, but if there were, there wasn't a contrail, chemtrail, or anything in the sky. I mean, we're talking blue, clear, burn your hind end down. If you look at the sun, you go blind. Not just the way they used to say when we were kids, when I could look at the sun and look at a disk, and they'd say, don't look at it too long, it'll burn your eyeballs out. You can't even look at the sun right now. So there's a bunch of stuff going on they're not even telling us about, I guarantee it, especially with solar activity. You know, in other words, keep you diverted, dog and pony show. Anyway, it is Communications Tuesday. It is the 3rd of November. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar. 2020 Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords, the Betrayal chapter. Yes, remember? And the characters are virtually identical. There's that stooge playing the fake who's competing against the other character, and both of them are working for the same little small hat crew with the same agenda. If the Democrats propose to burn down the Library of Congress today, the Republicans would protest and then propose to phase the burning of the Library of Congress in over a 5-day period. But the Library of Congress would still be burned down by both of them. Anyway, we got a voice. I heard a caller. Who do we have?
Hey, we got Tom from Northern Michigan. It's beautiful up in this area, too. I mean, it was in the 50s. I mean, beautiful blue sky like it is. And a perfect voting song would be Hang 'em High by Carl Klein. And,
I think we might be able to play it. Ed may have it in the inventory there.
But, and also, don't forget, after you get done voting, go and vote with your wallet, buy ammo, buy food, buy water, buy whatever. I went and I bought me a bunch of beef jerky today.
Well, a few days ago, for a few days, Menards had a bunch of stuff marked down to half of the normal price, and unfortunately, they went right back up to regular price as of today, which is kind of weird because this is like Tuesday. And so there was a weird thing. I tell you what we're going to do. Let's go to Carl Klang. We'll be right back. Remember, hang 'em high.
Bureaucrat woke up one day with nothing much to do. He tried to put his street clothes on but couldn't find his shoe. The night before he tied one on, now cobwebs filled his head. By afternoon he called in sick and then went back to bed. veterans and nation sons become the unemployed since NAFTA passed those aliens will gladly fill the void. Yippee-yi-yo, yippee-yi-yay. Vengeance is on the way. I say we hang 'em, hang 'em, hang 'em, till their toes are dangling. Stretch those faders' necks, hang 'em high. Before they up and bust us, let's use old-fashioned justice and go out and get a rope and hang 'em high. My senator just voted yes to pass the Brady bill. He thinks if he can take my guns, it's him that won't be killed. He doesn't give a hang about the crime he helps create, as long as bribes keep coming in. Americans can wait. Yippee-yi-yo, yippee-yi-way. Vengeance is on the way. It's time we hang 'em, hang 'em, hang 'em, till their toes are dangling. Stretch those faders' necks, hang 'em high. Before they up and bust us, let's use old-fashioned justice. Go out and get a rope and hang 'em high. Check 'em out, size 'em up, hook 'em up, find 'em out. If they're in, vote 'em out. If they're out, hunt 'em down. Drag 'em into the court, every trade or a sort. Use your vote like a rope, hang 'em high. Hang 'em high. Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Hey, and we are back. And that Carl Klang, hang 'em high. And I'd say quite appropriate. Use your vote. Well, again, many people voted 7-8 times before we got to today's date. Today's date is it's the official kickoff for the, well, wait a minute. No, there was like preseason. Well, what kind of an election is this? I've been voting since I was 18. I was so proud when I could go out and vote years ago, because I didn't know everything I know now, but I was so excited, and I went out and I got, involved, listened to things.
You felt like an adult.
Yeah, I made decisions, listened to, what was going on, and again, most of the time, that's what I used to do. And you do whatever you're going to do with the vote process, and you leave. Now you got the other 364 days of the year, which is common sense, to unbusify yourself with a single dot on the map and work on the rest of what needs to be done. But you'll notice how they pickle, smoke, and mirrored everybody's hind end with this BS. How much have they wasted of our nation's time by creating this childish, children's, panty waist, shoe size IQ version of an election? And don't say, it's the Democrats. No, it isn't, because I didn't see any Republicans step up and put their foot down. None of them. Not one. In fact, they joined in the clamor. We've had calls nonstop. Not today. For the last 2 weeks. About not just voting on election. You can vote early, and you can go in and vote again, and or whatever. Well, who cares? Who's counting?
But I always thought that if you voted more than once, that's a felony.
No, it's a felony. It's something very different from what you thought. It was a felony. It's Irish. It's right next to malarkey, that term that Biden keeps throwing. They've thrown up for Biden. I don't think Biden can remember it again. Malachi, something or other. Yeah, whatever. It's malarkey, Joe, malarkey. Oh, that's right, malarkey. Yeah, whatever. So anyway, the Dog and Pony Show is proceeding, and I haven't looked at anything. I haven't even turned on the radio to listen to any of the prattle today. But anybody can fill in. I mean, well, are we neck and neck? Are we a breath away? Is it only moments away from whatever?
But in Michigan, the polls are open until 8, so you guys, people in Michigan, you still got a couple hours yet.
You got plenty of time to vote an 8th or 9th time, people. If you already got your write-in ballots in and you used all the write-in ballots for all the dead people that were sent to everybody's home, then you can still vote again. You got till 8 o'clock to go in and fake out whatever this other fakery is we've been doing, which is really cool.
And both sides are saying we will know the outcome of the election by tonight. Damn the Electoral College.
Yeah. Well, Hillary...
Nobody cares what the Electoral College says. It's all the popular vote, which is what they've been pushing. And this year, it seems like they totally want to forget about it because we have to know the outcome of the election tonight. I actually had somebody tell me that. It's like, we're going to know. And they go, well, the Electoral College hasn't met yet. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, actually, it should have. See, that's the problem. All of this is askew. All of this is wrong. I mean, that's the problem with this. This should all be done today, but you can't do it, and there is no real genuine solution to an outcome today, period. Not in any element of what would be the traditional polling action for today. It's done. As far as I'm concerned, the voter by the voting box, go through the motion. Oh, did you go vote? Yeah, I voted for all the independents. Actually, by the way, that's what I used to do all the time anyway. Nancy and I worked inside the Democrat and Republican Party here in Michigan because we just wanted to see how things work. And I'm going to tell you firsthand, they're nothing but a criminal combine. In fact, nothing but, the Italian mob and the Jewish mob on one side and, well, the Jewish mob on the other side. And some other group. Usually some fake, veneer wasps, but very few that really are wasps because they're almost always, small hat wearer, concealed. But watching all of them, guys, I've told you this before. We've covered this for 30 years, but we've been like I said, I've been voting since I was 18, okay? And we watched as if it looked like a non-ring knocker insider was running, the Republicans will sponsor a Democrat to run against you. And if the Democrats have somebody who's not in the circle, within the clique, and a good hardcore Communist Party member, then they will run a Republican because they're both in bed together. And they'll run a Republican as a Democrat against whoever it is if that Republican could get up on the petition fast enough and is a fellow traveler. We have watched this from the state conventions. I've watched
They've done that here in my little. They've done that here in my little town, Mark. I have like 750 people live in the town I live in, and they've done that here. There was a guy who was, a righteous type of guy. He wasn't Christian, but he was a righteous guy, and he was a no nonsense kind of guy with head on straight. They ran a Democrat. The Republican Party down in the county ran a Democrat against him.
Yeah.
To try and keep him out of office.
Because if somebody who's not part of the clique gets in there, they're going to see how scurrilous things are, and they might spill the beans. Now, it won't do any good to talk to the controlled media. Those dirty whores are in bed with all of the dirty politicians. You've seen what's been going on for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but guess what? It's like we've said, so the press has been lying, and the dirty politicians have been lying, and the bureaucracy has been lying about Donald Trump for 5 years. Yeah, they lie. You mean the way they've been lying about the militia for as long as you've been alive? Well, do that to all these fake conservatives. Watch and see how they go into brain fart. I've watched this 100 times. So you mean like the way they lied about the militia then? Well, first you get them all pumped up. You want them to keep repeating, do they lie? Yeah, they lie. Are they liars? Yeah, they're liars. The press are liars. And you've seen that they're liars because you know it, because you've seen it firsthand now, haven't you? Yeah. Well, then they've been lying about the militia this whole time, haven't they? And then they get quiet half the time because now you've stuck a stick right into their little training wheels. They got spoke training wheels. And it just jams them right there because of course they all desperately try to lick arse and be politically correct and chant the mantra of the same controlled media that they told you a minute ago was lying about Trump.
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead, caller. Who do we have?
Tom again. Remember, everyone in Michigan, vote yes on Proposal 22. That's for them to require warrants for check your phone and electronic data. Remember, vote yes on that, even though if it passes, they won't follow it. But hey, vote yes on it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's 2 or 3 items that are on the ballot. Well, again, like I said, there's no trusting any of the vote. There's an excellent video out there called Vote Scam. Try to find a copy of it and share it. But once you watch it, it's this would kind of undermine what just happened here with what we're seeing right now. It's like, if you know what's really going on, once it gets past all the counting locally, the numbers are totally skewed and intentionally so anyway. The percentage varies depending upon cooperation between the turds that are where the ballots are collected and the progressive lie as it goes up the feeding chain to the national. And again, who does collect all these votes? Here in our township, we had people doing the polls that are people that are running. In fact, Nancy was saying most of the people that were there are people that are running for office. Well, that means you've got a conflict. So what are they doing in there? Well, what does that tell you? Now, vote scam, I would point out that, again, we can't just complain about this. Let me ask you all something. What are we going to do, and how are we going to properly secure the election process so that this doesn't happen? It can't be electronic, everything electronic, from the banking scam. Look what happens right now just with your credit cards and the electronic bookkeeping and all the crap that they've violated, or where they've intentionally been able to implement massive fees and fines by manipulating how they count your checks when they come in. Whereas you did meticulous bookkeeping and you had them, you slid the check in so you knew this one would go and the new deposit would come in. And yet many people have had this happen over and over again. Well, wait a minute, none of this is in sequence. Well, trust me, there's an algorithm for that, and there are people who are in proof. I used to work at Ann Arbor Bank and Trust in computer and proof, and I can tell you from behind the scenes exactly how they did it. Because it's very simple. I mean, all they do is target. Well, nowadays it's simpler. Back in the day, it was more mechanical, and it was really tougher in that respect. I gotta say that, because everything was hands-on, mechanical, physical. You actually had to. Once you go to electronic, you just have 1, 2, or 3 hackers in Israel who are the hackers they buy, and they could structure anything they want with a series of different fully computerized algorithms to shuffle your deposits and withdrawals in such a way, when it comes to checking, for instance, that they could milk your account for half of what's there.
They don't even have to do that, Mark. All they have to do is buy the software from the Israelis. The back doors are already built into them.
Exactly.
We are developing it for you, comrade.
As a matter of fact, and again, this is what's fascinating. Like I said, this dog and pony show that we're in right now, we're in a benchmark this is like the big 3-ring circus part of the dog and pony show, Pickle Smoke and Mirrors crew. You know what I mean? In other words, everybody, this is the traditional, and now in the middle ring, traditional, for a day only, for 1 day only, but really not just the rest of the event. There's more. And don't worry, we've had circle after circle before that, and little circus parades inside the tent, round in circles. Plus, they've been trying to burn down the tent, and they even attacked the people in the stands for about the last year or so, leading up to this game. So, anyway, I heard another voice. Go ahead.
There's Ed.
Hey, this is Carl in Virginia. So, my experience voting today, so I go to my normal voting place, and the doors are locked and there's no sign saying, hey, you need to go somewhere else. So we start asking around with some of the townspeople, and they're like, oh, it's over at the high school. You got to go to the high school. All right, we've never voted at the high school before, ever. So go to the high school. Now, of course, because it's a school, you can't carry concealed onto the property legally. And but also, this makes no sense. Everybody was voting at the high school. Now, usually you got localized polling places, one for each precinct. And I live in an extremely rural county, but you don't have everybody from the county going to one place to vote ever. And I don't understand how this makes any sense at all with COVID, because if you're worried about people getting the coronavirus, well, why would you have everybody come to the exact same place? Not only that, the place that you bring them to is the place where all these, hundreds of kids are every day, which, how kids are, they're germ bombs. Explain to me how that makes any sense.
Well, again, that's like the big box scam. What you've got is total communist centralization. Think about it. And by the way, do they really consider the election genuine anyway? As far as I'm concerned, no. I don't believe. They already have been told, and they already know that the way they got the thing set up with the scam running the way it is, they're just waiting to see how and when they're going to hit the switch with regard to the confusion and chaos. Out of order they shall bring chaos, remember? And interestingly enough, everybody's talking about the bricks that are showing up all over the place. Well, even in Lansing, Michigan here, and, again, pallets of bricks. Well, skids of bricks that you don't move without a machine. Does everybody understand that? You might notice that most of the pictures of what they're showing, look around the area where these bricks have been dropped off. Guys, do you see any construction going on? But they're not just walked in, they're still pallet bound, which means somebody came in with a lifter, dropped off, a ton of pallet, right? Maybe more, depending how big the pallet, what size brick it is. But they dumped off 2, 3, 4 pallets, still pallet bound. You don't pick those up. You and I don't walk over and say, hey, let's go move that grand piano. And by the way, let's grab that slug of bricks while we're at it. Yeah. You don't do that. So somebody paid for that. Now, I'm going to repeat something I've said years ago, we covered back when it happened, is the cops, the feds, the ADL, and Southern Perversion Law all sleep in bed together. East Lansing, the Lansing riots back in the aughts, guys, in fact, early about the time of Y2K. There was a series of these actions that dropped out of the blue that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. There was no activity going on. In other words, there wasn't anything, there was no kid being shot or somebody wielding a knife and the cops shoot him because they don't want to get cut up and how dare you defend yourself, blah, 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 blah. Just out of the blue, all of a sudden we had these riots going on. Well, here's what was happening. It was well documented, by the way. A bunch of students who are from Lansing, Michigan and Michigan State videotaped the cops dressed up like Antifa, and the cops, of course, coordinating with other people they bought who were student age but not college students. They found out later. And what they did is they had the riot squads waiting down the street, and this was a test program. They would it was garbage day in East Lansing in the areas where they were just off campus, and the cops and the ununiformed cops went out to the edge of the street, grabbed all the trash, threw it out on the street in piles, and lit it on fire. But then when they were done with that, they'd run around behind the houses, and they would be collecting, and here would be 2 or 3 cops, 2 or 3 black uniform SWAT team, coordinators, a couple other administrators, and some of the hoodies, and a couple of the other paid-for thugs, and they're all coordinating and talking on the radio. One of the things that they did is they picked out a Taco Bell. You might recall, we covered this on the air live when it was going on. They picked out a Taco Bell, came in from one side, and everybody's just, these are all kids off campus. Nobody's doing anything. There's no problem. Riot cops come in, start wailing on everybody, spraying everybody, go in one door, go through, beat on everybody, tap everybody, dump stuff over, go out the other door and leave. And these were the black uniform knuckle-dragging SWAT types. This wasn't just rank-and-file cops, which means it was probably state police SRT unmarked, because these characters, people were saying, I got pictures, but I can't find any patches or any ID on them. Well, they were videotaped by a bunch of little news crews that were made up of kids who didn't know you weren't supposed to do this. And, of course, the cops started chasing and attacking them because they were documenting how this was going on, including finding wreckage and bricks that just happened to show up that nobody could understand where they came from, and they started using them on one of the little track malls. And it was like, well, where the hell did the bricks come? What were the bricks there for? Sound familiar? So, guys, this is not new. This is the same garbage. Like I told you before, they're running on a cassette player or a record. They're not even running on CD. This is stuff they've done over and over and over again, and we've lived through it more than a few times. But as long as you don't get all drunked up or doped up, you might have a memory about it. So we have seen this before. However, in this case, I think they're pensive. I think a lot of them, just like myself, here's my attitude. If I am attacked here, I'm not giving anybody to the police. Does everybody understand? All the people that are watching me that are allies, I already told them. In fact, one of them, you may recall I brought this up. One of the guys was talking to me, goes, if you get in the way of us and somebody's, messing around here, you get shot with everybody else if you think you're going to prevent us from, killing them off, getting rid of them, kill them off. It's like, wait a minute, you haven't been listening to the program. You go ahead and do whatever you want. Just, club them like a baby seal, but don't kill them until I can go out and interrogate, and then you can do whatever you want with them, or I'll finish them off. But, roll up on them from behind. I want all of them gone. We don't want it. We're not going to call the cops. There's no sense. To hell, half of them will be screaming, I'm a cop, I'm state police, I'm a Fed. I'm sure you are.
You were.
I'm sure you are. You know what? You were. I guess they're going to have to hire some new employees if that's the case, because your dirty little bastards are out here doing what you're doing, think you're going to be called Antifa or Black Lives Matter. I know better than that. Doesn't mean those pigs won't be out and about, but if I capture them, ain't going to be any different.
Isn't it the same with the corporate military that they send out? They catch you in enemy territory without your uniform on. You're a spy. You're done. Summary execution.
Yeah, well, that's how they'd brag it up. That's what they would play. So, but in this case also, they're just invaders. As far as I'm concerned now, these characters will follow any order by any dirty whore, any globalist, neocon, /pig that's out there, /communist, /socialist, /Fabian socialist. If they're that dumbed down and they're following bad orders, then they need to be put down. It's that simple. And, here's what's going to happen. I'm warning you all now. Everybody goes, well, Trump technically got in, but now we have to have the police state because of those other guys. And you know who the police state's going to go after? Let me point something out. What's happening right now with the BATF and guns? And by the way, George Bush. Donald Trump has been in power for 4 years. So is the government his or not his? Is this his government or not? He's in charge. He's been in charge for 4 stinking years. If you're a lackey, dumpy, let's just say nobody with no clue, and maybe with a shoe size IQ, which maybe he has, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But you might be tough to try and figure out your job for a little bit, but you'd be chugging along. And by the way, you assert yourself as manager. If the bat faggots are coming out, they've been playing this scam with us forever. Well, he doesn't have control of them, and they're going rogue. No, they're not. They're doing exactly what we've told you would happen because it's how they play the game. Why? And you're busy making excuses for an enemy. If they are rogue, then what should we do about them? Okay, for all you people making excuses. Well, it's not Donald Trump. They're rogue. Okay, so then what you're saying is that Donald Trump has laid down orders. Well, yeah, I heard about that. Oh, right. So if they violate Donald Trump's orders, what should we do to the bat faggots in the FBI following the orders of the ADL and Southern Perversion Law and the Israelis? What should we do? Not going along with them. See, let's clear this water out, because they intentionally create these radical, and this is a radical, swing back and forth in confusion, so you're supposed to get caught flat-footed. And I'm telling you right now, back up, step away from all the choppy water, go find yourself a little bit of a water barrier, a land barrier, so you got some calm water there to sit in, and now look around to your conditions and ask yourself what the hell's going on. Step back, smell the coffee, look at everything for a minute and go, yeah, okay, well, that's not my friend, but that asset over there ain't my friend either. Look, the commies are burning the streets. You need to rush over to the ATF and the FBI that have lied to you forever. In fact, they lie about Donald Trump, but all of a sudden you're supposed to rush over there and hug these bastards who want to kill you. Wow. Well, that would be stupid. In fact, anybody doing that would be really stupid. And we need to point that out, that is very stupid. They're not your friends. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Create the problem, demonstrate the problem, and come up with a solution people otherwise would not accept.
So stupid.
Well, stupid! So stupid! Remember the sensei from UHF. Stupid! So stupid! Seriously. Instead of, because everybody's supposed to get pent up in the drama. Are you all pent up in the drama? You'll notice I'm not really, in reality, other than emphasis added here, I'm not very dramatic about this because I'm going to repeat what I've said a million times in the last several months. You know, go slow, aim low. Slow. Go slow, aim low. Okay? Boom. One shot, put them down. A well-placed, accurate first hit is better than 5 misses. Does everybody understand that? That was something that there's been a big discussion about for years, and we've talked about it here. But what it comes down to is these characters are intentionally trying to create drama, confusion. Oh, and don't forget the basic, fear. Same thing they did with the BS with the coronavirus scam, and they really, really believe that somehow we were going to buy into that the core group is going to be confused about this. Let me point something out. Last couple of weeks, pay attention to, well, hold on, do this. Let's do this. Hold on, I got to bring the computer up here, and I got to bring this over here, and go over to YouTube. Here, have this. This is a fun one for you. Go over to YouTube, and when you get there, go look at Civil War in America, 2020. Okay. Now, if you just do Civil War, okay, Civil War in America, 2020. And we'll go 2020. There we go. I got to type it in here real quick. There we are. Okay, now let's go over there. Now, there's a bunch of articles in there. Let's see, Sky News, and, let's see, there's 60 Minutes, and there's a couple different postings from 60 Minutes, and Antifa, BLM, Boogaloo Boys, Why Armed Protesters Are Preparing for Civil War in America, and that was a day ago. 60 Minutes in the 6 minutes, I guess, is what, basically it used to be 60 minutes, but what, 60 minutes in 6? Does that mean it's like, now it's 6 minutes long? We really went chintzy on the 60 minutes. It's really 6. We should say 6, and then you'd really understand that what we did is we hacked and chopped. Nobody wants to watch us. That's what's going on. But if you want, read all of these or watch them because, of course, they've got some mouthpiece, little kosher mafia piece of trash out there holding the microphone. Now, if you let them out there, they're going to hack, chop, fold, spindle, and mutilate, and selectively use whatever they want to play with, okay, in terms of propaganda. If you pay attention, it's why these characters, how audacious, they want a war. It's like, well, and you're supposed to go, oh, no, don't worry, I'm going to sit on my hands and just watch you guys ride up and kill me. Yeah. But even if you do just go with the they want a war, okay, there's a whole bunch of other propaganda that are in comments and snide comments made about how, they're cowards and they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. Now they're hoping that you'll jump in there and have some kind of conversation with them about, yes, we will. We don't have any conversation with our enemies, and I don't get in front of the camera with them. I'll talk to you. But if you pay attention here, we don't need any dialogue with the people we're going to be shooting at because we're going to be shooting at them. I could care less about them. Key word, they're my enemy. They are our enemy. Key word, enemy. Well, but no, we don't need to reach across. Why are you going to reach across that? What do you want to lose an arm? You're going to need both of them in this war. So the old alligator piranha commie with the purple hair and the frothing at the mouth, fangs with the bulging eyeballs. You think you're going to have a conversation with that? Are you crazy? And you know what? All the ones holding the microphone, they love that bunch. They love that bunch. They are supporting that bunch. So you see who's riding with your enemy? Now, if you pay attention and watch all these articles, you see the theme that, well, how dare they think that they're not going to let us just ride up and do what we want as commies/reds? How dare they? And it's like I've said many times, well, I'll dare a lot because I ain't subject to anybody. In fact, I'm an American. You really made a big mistake there on that one. And you ain't dealing with that panty-waist bunch down the street there that call themselves conservatives and won't get up off their dead ass and do squat. In fact, they haven't done anything to stop any of what these wretched turds have been up to for how long now? Think about it. And in fact, they don't even know how to focus power when they have power. Remember when we pointed out here for 2 years, the Republicans had everything again. What did they do with it? The Republicans? Nothing. Boy, if we just elect them in again, what? If we elect them in again, what's going to happen? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Nothing. They're not going to push the enemy back. They're not going to step up to the plate. They are going to collect their cash from the ADL and from the foreigners and the shyster bankers, laugh their ass off while they're spinning their wheels. Because I'm going to tell you what, we just had 4 years. This is election night. We just had 4 stinking years of spinning your ass wheels. That's it. Point to what significant action. Well, we got somebody on the Supreme Court who, by the way, if you look at her voting record, it's kind of closer to somebody you might want. But if you take a look at certain core issues, boy, she's about red and yellow as they get, as in the Soviet. Just a little heads up. Pickle, smoke, and mirrors, the usual garbage. Again, what did it do? The election and that little process there made a little drama queen stir pot, tempest in a teapot, BS operation, kept everybody busy, and meanwhile, nothing is really accomplished.
Political theater, Mark.
Yes, theatre. It's the theatre. What has happened to the theatre?
What we need to get across to people, and we've been doing it forever. We'll just continue to do it. All this whole political party thing is for the left and the right, and frankly, the libertarians the same way. They're all bought and paid for. They are the gatekeepers between us and our freedom.
Yep,
that's exactly what they are. They're the gatekeepers. They're the ones there to keep you from getting through.
Well, I think the biggest thing right now is the greatest absolute in-your-face, we're going to do it, you're not going to figure out or have a clue. Spinning your wheels, wasting your time while accomplishing absolutely nothing. The Republic, how is it the Democrats, let me ask everybody something, because everybody goes, well, that's not going anywhere. How is it the Democrats are great for cranking out legislation that everybody has to deal with, while the Republicans sit on their dead ass, rotate between their bunghole and their mouth, between one thumb and the other. When somebody says rotate, they pull the one out of their fundamental orifice and the other one out of their mouth, and without wiping, switch. They don't need to wipe because they're busy sucking the bung juice off of the other thumb that was up their hind end a minute ago. That's all they do. Because otherwise, it would be, we're different from them. Well, then you would have legislation to overturn all the gun control acts. Well, that's not going anywhere. Oh, yeah, it is. It's going right into it's going to go into committee. It's going to be forced. They're going to have to deal with it. Have you noticed how your Republicans can't get off their dead ass and do anything? That's why I said, nothing's happening here. It's all spin wheels and keep everything neutral until they figure they can find an excuse. The ring knockers, when they slide the next, farcical 1.5 month, not election, dog and pony show, and then do the same thing again. They just keep advancing with regard to the tripe, which is why the ballot box is gone. Okay, it's dead. In fact, even if Trump theoretically is in here at this moment, which I don't care either way, his little boys have already started attacking gun owners in yet another vast number. It's going to be affecting millions with this AR-15 pistol, which, by the way, I told you back when the bump stock thing, and I was absolutely right. Why? Because we've seen this before. Now, I got to figure the people that are supposedly pro-gun either are brain-dead, catatonic, nimrods, or they just been told, you go so far to play the rubes, and otherwise don't talk about the cyclic history of these scams and how they've run. Because right now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, okay, the bat faggots are doing what we've seen them do, but of course at the end as much in the power of the Republicans as the Democrats. In fact, the most blatant, flagrant anti-gun crap has always been done with a Republican in power. That's what's most critical to understand. In other words, the Stalinites versus the Trotsky Leninites. Because sure as hell aren't American. And it's always, well, we've got to be reasonable. I want to get the guns first and worry about due process later. Don't you know? There are people that still try to tell you that he never said that Trump never said that. Well, Trump did a special session and was, in fact, guys, that was with Republicans and Democrats in the room, all at a table together in the outhouse / the White House. And he looked right at the Republicans who were kind of aghast when he said, yeah, you come up with an anti-gun bill and work it out with these guys here, and I'll sign it. That's not somebody paraphrasing. You can go watch the video. It is the 21st century. So this is Trump's administration going after a bunch of what really are funny, the select or the elected, thought they were anyway, who are the Blue Lives Matter. Oh, I got to be like the cops. I got to have an AR-15 pistol because that way I'll be like the cops. Blue Lives Matter, man. ATF, FBI, they love me, man. You really? No, they don't. But seriously, that's the group that just got bit in the arse. And even if they aren't able to complete everything because of the attention, only because here's what happened. Okay, let's back up here. And I said this, I told you this months ago, okay? When the bump stock ban took place, about a week and a half later, 2 weeks, all of the people in the industry who were on it said they're coming after the AR pistols. And don't say anything. Why? Well, we got inventory to sell. Got inventory to sell, boys. So instead of being honest, I was right. Not only did we have a pretty good finger on the pulse, if you read all or watch, go to Guns and Gadgets and watch all the videos going back to the first one about the new announcement about the AR-15 pistols. Progressively, he finds out, and everybody finds out, that the whole industry was told to shut up, not say a word, and that way they were going to shock and awe and surprise the American gun owners with a big gun confiscation. And they knew it in the manufacturer circles, people. They knew it, and they didn't tell you. The only one that did was the guy with the Q with the honey badger pistol, which finally made some noise. And then it turns out, oh, yeah, well, these guys did too. Oh, these guys did too. Oh, it turns out those guys and those guys and those guys and that guy and oh, hell, all of them. But they didn't tell anybody. Now, I'm going to say something. They did tell some people, because who do you think I was talking to? Okay, that's what gets me about this. It's like, okay, so how's everybody getting caught flat-footed here? It's logical that at the very least the bat faggots are an oppressive rat punk bunch of skanks that are going to do something like this. But the people, here's that thing, that American flag with that blue line through it that they were waving, well, I'm with the cops, and the cops love me, and I got cop kind of guns. I got one of those cop pistols. AR-15 pistols, like I saw the SWAT team carry, man. You mean the one's going to come to your home and take your guns? Yeah, rah, the cop. Wait, what are you doing at my door? Oh, you have an AR-15 pistol. No, I don't. I dropped it in the water off my boat. No, you just had it on a video on YouTube last night, and you were showing it to everybody, and we pretty well recognize it, and it's on the banned list. And, well, I know you've been down to the gun store where all the cops congregate, and you had coffee with them, and they took notes about everything you said, and they remembered everything you did, because those cops were your buddy. No, they weren't. Everybody understand that? Now, I don't have a problem with you guys owning any stinking gun you want. I'm going to be just the reverse on this. I hands off the bump stocks. I wouldn't use them, but somebody's mastered them. Hey, they're doing pretty good. I don't really care. If they want it, they should own it. For that matter, we need to get rid of the Gun Control Act of 33, 34, the NFA Act right from the get-go. But if we force them on that, they're going to have to acknowledge the War Powers Act is still in place and that we're actually an occupied country with a bunch of foreign skanks, agents in the government, working for foreign powers against the American people. Ooh! Yeah, can't have that, can you? Uh-oh. Whoa, Ruby. So anyway, again, the whole idea that step by step they've lied, these are people who all, well, let me ask you something. I'm wondering if they're going to go into catatonic brain fart and schizophrenic and go, well, I like my pistol, but I'm going to let him take it because I like the, Blue Lives Matter. Really? They're trying to take your guns. You already said you were going to, get rid of whoever the asshats were that tried that. They're coming after that gun. Yeah, well, yeah. See, I've seen all this before. This is like, well, like I said, pretty, and the ones with a big chunk of money on weapons, they're never going to stand up with you because they got money tied up into them, and they really weren't thinking about their guns the way you were thinking about your guns anyway. Okay, but besides, they were told that in their brain, they talked themselves into believing they're special, you're not. That's why you'll find a lot of these characters are like, whoa, they don't like, militia, I'm evil, bad, but guns, we gotta have our guns. Okay, well, then what are you gonna do with them? Well, turn them in when they ask for them. Turn them in when they demand them. Yeah. The pretty ones aren't the ones that are going to be there to fight when the time comes. I'm going to tell you that right now. But we don't need them. They are not really, they are the tiniest of the element. Of the rest and many others who are actually looking at the business tools as business tools, they have bought vast amounts. They look at them as weapons for the purpose at hand that need to be in place. And they're rather egalitarian in that respect. Be it heavy ordnance, be it, munition stockpiles, spread out, or again, cached accordingly on a massive scale. I am one of the travelers. I'm one of the few people that can actually tell you in this country have a really good idea of what's where to a degree. Not completely. Didn't need to know. Every time I kept telling people I don't need to know. But I have been a witness because I've been to many of the dark places that are all over this country. So when everybody tells you it's like a movie and you have 4 extras and, like 3 primary characters, and when they grab 3 people, it's the end of the war because those 3 people are grabbed. It's like there's millions of people in our legion, in our armies, in our forces. How is it taking 3 people is the end of our campaign? Well, it doesn't work that way. It's just like the garbage with what was going on in Grand Rapids. Oh, well, they grabbed like 10 people. It's the end. It's the end. Really? Well, let me point some out about that one. It's like when we get into a shooting war, how many people do you think we're going to lose a day? Killed or wounded. Without a major battle, just with regular skirmishing and fighting every day. How many people do you think will be wounded lightly? How many people do you think will be wounded seriously? How many KIAs will you have in a day? You haven't even gotten a fingernail tick. And yet your panty waist piss willies immediately go into brain fart. Let me grab somebody over there. Okay, well, there's 100,000 of us here in Michigan. More. I mean, it's more because I really do have an idea. We don't know who everybody is. That's my whole point. There are so many people organized. But then you have these piss willies who all have this television cast mindset. Their idea of a big cast in a television epic is 30, 40 people in the background, spread out widely so that it looks like there's more, even though when they do an air shot, it's pretty stinking obvious. Well, there ain't very many people standing there. Yeah, but that's all you'd have. And because people have been mentally conditioned to that, well, they grabbed 10 people. They grabbed 5 people. That's a fire team or a squad. Hate to say it, but in an exchange, I can lose that many people in less than a few minutes to half an hour of a regular skirmish. I don't want to. In fact, the best odds situation is where it's all lopsided on my side against them, and we make the situation very different. But the old fickle finger of fate being what it is, someone's going to get tagged. So everybody better...
The way I see it, Mark, if each of us gets one, they don't have enough.
Yep. Well, we are at the top for everybody. We're going to take a break. We're going to grab some more coffee. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we're on the march both day and night.
So think outside of the television box, literally, the screen box. Now, understand that you're looking at how many million people in America? How many tens and tens of millions do you think are ready to fight on our side right now? Do you think it's a handful of people on a little box screen with a few extras in the background? Or do you really have an adult perspective on just how big and vast this battlefield is? And the numbers you've seen are minuscule by comparison to actual combat. Get your brain squared away. Get it screwed on, actually properly, and then step back, like I said, smell the coffee, look around a little bit. We're going to go to break. We will be right back here in a few minutes. It is Tuesday on Libertytreeradio.
It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys. It will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys. Faith in the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside to dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
How many of you know where the term redneck actually came from and what it truly represents, what it meant, what it was supposed to and does mean? Redneck. It's not what you would think, and because we have been heavily conditioned by the leftist / the liberal element out there, there intentionally was an attack upon the term because of what it foundationally means, what it originally represented. Like everything you've seen, lies based upon lies added to other lies. Go see if you can find out what the term redneck means, where it came from, and why on the ridge it became an established term. When I say on the ridge, the Blue Ridge, okay, and up and down the Tennessee and Kentucky line, all the way back to the East Coast, and then some, by the way, because redneck, that term was used all the way up into the Virginias. This is way before media, television, and any of that BS, and the propaganda of Hollywood and the kosher mafia and the excrement in New York pulling their garbage. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, the territories, and the clock. It is 6:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, Communications Tuesday. It is the 3rd of November, 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords. Now, when you do, I'm going to warn you, first of all, the term redneck doesn't even come from North America.
Oh, really?
No, doesn't come from
we
North
were talking about the Blair Mountain coal miners back in 1921 when 10,000 of them rose up and fought the National Guard and they wore red bandanas around their neck.
Nope. Well, although, again, that would be one of the directions they tried to, and I know I've seen that. That's not where it came from on the ridge or why they got the idea to do it. No, you're in the right direction on that. Notice the area where it took place. Now let me all ask you something. You might wonder for a few minutes there. If you know about anyone that has a southern accent, especially depending on the type of brogue that they might have embraced on the ridge, and also in Virginia, along with Georgia, for that matter in the Carolinas, if you are familiar with this particular accent, you might understand that it does not come from North America, but in reality is closer to the actual brogue and cycle and meter of Scotch-Irish and the Irish themselves, along with the Scotch independently. How many of you knew that? Now, of course, most of you did, because you probably know what your background is. If you know where great-great-great-great-grandpa, Kolarski came from, Patrick, Kamini, Hirmurda, blah, 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 Smith. No, actually, there probably would be any number of, take your pick, like in my family line, Schilling, okay, I would say that's probably Irish, don't you know? Schilling could also be from, Northern England, Wales, but Schilling, typically Irish, and or even Scotch. Scotch-Irish, that's why I mentioned that first. It goes back deeper than that, but you see, they don't want to go deeper because why did the coal miners come up with that as an idea? Where did that come from? Things don't just pop up randomly. They come to us through the depths of time, and in many cases, the original intents and meaning aren't there. It also, the term redneck also interlocks with stiff neck. Oh, he's got a stiff neck. He's a real redneck, lad. Oh, he is? Well, bloody hell, I don't want to mess with him. What do you mean? Oh, they don't give. Stiff neck, redneck. Oh, the derogatory term is by the pigs, who, of course, are your enemies and have been your enemies into the depths of time. Because, of course, it's evil white working man, blah, blah, blah. Really? Yeah, those evil white working men will get you every time when they work their ass off so you can steal their taxes and take whatever you can from them and try to, if at all possible, make sure that they owe their soul to the company store. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't come. I owe my soul to the company store. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Right?
Yes,
but,
you're informed.
who were the people of the ridge? Where did they come from? Look at the name base. Look at the vocabulary. Pay attention to the slang. And also, again, traditional verbiage that's used. That's where redneck comes from, and it doesn't mean all the BS that the leftists have made it. In fact, the reason I bring this up is I saw something else that was goofier than hell. It's, some drivel with liberal redneck. Okay, well, first of all, if you understand what a redneck is, and under no circumstances would they call themselves liberal. A real redneck. I ain't talking the scam with all the BS that, the leftists do this all the time. I went to college. I had English classes. I had English teachers bragging, in fact, what they were trying to do, and I knew what they were doing, and I was looking at them like, you got to be kidding me. Because they would start telling me about construction of sentences, verbs, and how to use words and how words can change in their meaning. But in doing so, you can change the government because you can change the meaning of the word, and you don't have to change the law. I actually had that when I was in school in the 70s, in college in the 70s. I listened to that crap. So when people tell me all about how, they're interpreting, and it's like, yeah, sure they are. First of all, they have all these idiot sticks who parrot, BS. How did we get the communists we have now? Same way we got the communists then. All from the public fool system and then primed into the college system, okay? So what the words really mean, and if you got to the depth of them, oh, hell yes, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a redneck. In fact, the Crown didn't like rednecks. The Crown, the bankers and the Crown didn't like rednecks or stiffnecks. They didn't like them at all. So the propagandists, the Jewish mob in the communications and the papers, and later on in this day and age, the radio, and also in the TV, well, propaganda. And you can flip things right over on their ear. But in reality, you know what? A lot of the people who are on the ridge actually know what I'm talking about. In fact, the very idea that so many years ago, that whole rise that took place within the labor ranks with the red bandana. Here's the thing you got to remember: the commies tried to steal that, though. Now let's understand something. Whenever possible, the communists always are, since they're the Jewish mob, they're classless parasites. Okay, they have no class. I'm not saying that, they're of no class, they're up and down. They're up and down through the spectrum because they have a legion whose job it is to become a parasite and to usurp and eventually destroy the host and then usurp the host, property, wealth, the whole nine yards. Well, if you think about it, with some of the stuff you've seen, remember again, like I've told you, like the election thing here. Well, we all want to be reds. We want our state to be red. No, you wouldn't. In fact, all through the Cold War, if you said something stupid like that, what would have happened to you? What would people think for 30 plus years while I was growing up if somebody said, I want my state to be red? Conservatives did not use red for anything. Why? You see what I'm saying about constructive fabrication here on the part of the ring knockers and the spit swappers? And by the way, the Republicrats went right along with this to create confusion. And it wasn't accidental because, as pointed out, we discussed this before, the red states are the Republicrats now, and the blue states, where the blue always represented true blue Americans. Blue was patriot. Blue was American War for Independence uniform. Blue was the uniform of the Union, whether or not you like the Union in the North or the South, whichever side you're on. Fact of the matter is that the established government wore blue uniforms. Okay? So where did the red crap come from? All of a sudden the conservatives are reds. It was intentional, and when it took place just before Obama came in, so they could create plenty of confusion. Why? Because you're dealing with communists. When you were dealing with Hillary the Hutt, she's a stark, raving, hardcore Fabian socialist. Well, if she's a Fabian, she can't really be a communist because that's a Soviet socialist. But she's a hardcore, frothing at the mouth monarchist/Soviet socialist. Obama, same thing. All of these characters are reds. But what they did when the Bushite was in there, number two, is all of a sudden the propaganda format changed. And that was not accidental because they knew that as they bring these new characters to play that you'd never seen before, they would be even more flagrantly communist than any you've seen before. And am I right or am I wrong? I mean, look at Bernie Sanders. Come on. And Bernie Sanders is not in the American Communist Party as a sidebar, which is traditionally where his ass would be, was it? Where was Bernie Sanders? He was in the center of the Democrat Party. Okay, and by the way, what's on the other side? The neocons working in the Republican Party, and the neocons. Let me give you an example. Here's something you especially were hearing the last couple of weeks, and I've been repeating this over and over again. Let me give you an example of trying to create more confusion. George Herbert Walker Bush is promoting NAFTA and GATT. It will make for a strong America. It will give us stronger international ties. It'll give us cheaper, goods. It'll give us blah, 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 but no jobs, of course. A vote for Bill Clinton is a vote against NAFTA. Vote for Bill Clinton to stop NAFTA. Bill Clinton will not pass NAFTA. You UAW workers, all of you regular people out there, George Bush is evil. Bill Clinton is good because he will stop NAFTA and GATT. A vote for Bill Clinton is a vote against NAFTA. Yay! The ring knockers, spit swappers, and whatever pushed Bill Clinton into power. And all of a sudden, NAFTA and GATT was signed. But wait, well, hold on. Well, George Bush was pushing it, and Bill Clinton signed it. Whoa. Dio, depression come and send my job to Mexico.
And we became a tourist economy.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing here? Well, hey, Bill Clinton signed the NAFTA treaty. Now GM gone and send my job away. George Bush write it, Bill Clinton sign it. GM gone and send my job away. $5, $4, $3, hey, ain't got no job, so I cannot pay. $3, $2, $1, hey, ain't got no job, so I'm going away. Hey, Bill Clinton signed the NAFTA treaty. Now GM gone and send my job away. George Bush write it, Bill Clinton sign it. GM gone and send my job away. Oh, Dio. Oh, Dio, depression come and send my job to Mexico. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I'll tell you. So, again, what did you see in the last couple of weeks? And by the way, Rush Limbaugh was the biggest, mouthiest cheerleader for NAFTA and GATT in the fake conservative side. I want that rubbed in, because I notice how everybody's got this glossy brain feature going on. Okay? Bill Clinton, we knew what he was. Hillary the Hutt, we knew what they were. Okay, the two of them? Everybody. In fact, that's why the 92 election was nobody. Who do you want to vote for? Nobody. Oh, no, you have to stay involved. Quick, let's get a Rockefeller guy over here. Where is that Rosie Parrott? And so they brought Rosie Parrott in. Something they acknowledged here in the last couple of days, several times when they brought up the independents. And remember, I told you before, and you know this now, that they always lie about the polls. Okay, the numbers for Rosie Parrott. Why is it Perel walked away? Rosie Parrott was getting 17% of the election polling, and they were doctoring it. It was much higher than that. Well, all of a sudden, that third party that was supposed to take power away from whoever, they just made, you got to walk away. I know we're going to play the scam and that tie him up, but this is becoming real. You have to leave. And so he did. Now, I'm going to tell you, like I said, we were involved in politics back then a lot. And you know what? We already had other independent candidates. You know why Ross Perot came back the second time after he walked away, wouldn't tell anybody what he was doing, just quit, I'm done, you guys can go over to the other two parties. That's basically what he said. As soon as he walked away, everybody said, oh, hell no. Well, actually, here's how we recruited everybody. I helped to do this. Well, do you like Bill Clinton? Hell no. You like George Herbert Walker Bush, the person who gave you Ruby Ridge and, was trying to grab the guns because he's been attacking gun owners? Hell no. Well, how about we take and go with another third candidate? Oh, yeah, hell yes. And so what happened is, because the infrastructure was all in place, all we did was slide the next candidate in line over, which, by the way, was Bo Greitz. And in the process of doing that, even though Greitz turned out to be pretty much the same as Rosie Parrott in the long run, we found all the rest of that out, which, of course, by the way, he admitted himself. By the way, if you didn't know that, at the FBI Academy, just a little heads up, of all places, at the FBI Academy, Quantico. Anyway, what's cute is we had somebody to throw in there, and the machine didn't slow down or lose. We didn't even lose 72 hours of the election process, guys. We had Greitz completely replaced with the Perot people immediately. The longest, the farthest point out to turn everybody around was about 72 hours, but the lion's share were switched out in 24 hours because everybody was already interconnected with alternate internet technology, and nobody knew what the internet was. That's back in 92. Okay? This is the history, real history, and how it worked. So after everybody switched over and nobody said, oh, piss on it, I'm not going to do anything, when all of a sudden another candidate was still there, it took them so many weeks, and all of a sudden, oh, look, Ross Perot's back. And why did he bring him back? Because that helped to create more confusion in the ranks so that it broke down the opposition that was significant enough that it would have made an historical benchmark in the election. And they can't have that. No explanation about why good old Rosie Parrott came back. Oh, out of the blue. Oh, I'm back. Look, I'm stirring the pot and creating confusion. I'm back. Now, you got to remember, he threw his hands up in the air. He did basically, let me point out something about Ross Perot. Ross Perot did to the independent voters what Hillary did 4 years ago on this night when she didn't get elected. Does anybody remember how we all laughed about that? And how I joked, it was serious. I don't doubt some interns were, choked, throttled, maybe killed. They had to roll them up in carpets, stuff them into ice coolers and make them disappear, chop them up in the hotel room and take them out of out the back door of the van. She didn't show up in front of the throngs, the massive throngs she had, who were waiting for anything that Hillary the Hutt could have said, and they'd have been happy. She didn't even show up. Remember? That's 4 years ago. Okay? After everything they spent and all the work they did and all the noise they made, she pissed in their face. That's what Ross Perot did to all of the independents. In fact, he didn't give anybody any warning. He did not say anything. He just, 17, 18 points. Oh, I'm out of here. Bye. And he was gone. Which is why, like I said, if we were going to do an independent thing at all, it has to truly be somebody independent. We've already seen this enough. If you've got enough gray matter between your ears and you haven't been drinking yourself to death or taking government drugs or taking, what other illicit drugs sponsored by the side government under the table, guess what? We got a memory. So we have seen all of this before. We've seen worse because we've seen all the murder and mayhem they tried to pull. The only thing that stopped it was the militia. Every time that, in fact, no matter what, that's been the bottom line. Right now, this is the quandary that they have because they were hoping that we're either going to panic or we're going to knee-jerk and we're going to go stupid, but everybody is calculating the destruction of the enemy, the real enemy. When this is done, Trump's bat faggots are coming at the guns anyway. Does everybody understand that? No matter what's going to happen here, Trump's ATF and FBI are coming for the guns. Now, how many or which they choose? Well, if you got 2 or 3 million gun owners and they can arbitrarily go after them with NFA charges, that's millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars wasted with people having to defend themselves or be in fear and trying to dodge the bullet in how many different ways? And how many different ways are they going to waste their life's time or have their life's time wasted by a parasitic regime that is in violation of everything that they originally established in terms of guidelines? And all because good old Trump signed that arbitrary and capricious action about bump stocks, which he knew what he was doing when he did it. That lying piece of trash, as far as I'm concerned. None of these fools. He's not stupid. I'll tell you what. I will tell you that. Don't you tell me he's stupid or ignorant or whatever. No. He does like living in isolation. He is very much monarchical in that respect and standoffish in that respect. He knows enough to get out to make contact with the population that you're working. Okay, you do that in business. Public relations is a critical part of making a business function. But the reality of what you're facing here, well, the other group is frothing at the mouth and telling you they're coming for the guns no matter what. Okay, so whatever we're seeing in the controlled media, whatever farcical numbers you got out there, obviously we're headed towards the shipwreck as we expected, and today is where the shoals, gut the bottom of the boat one way or another. And everybody better have their life rafts ready. Everybody better have their GE minigun hooked up on the life raft and be ready to deal with the problem. Go ahead, caller, jump in there. Who do we have?
Tom again. A friend of mine showed me a meme that was on Facebook. He goes, it said, November 1st, we turn our clock back. November 3rd, we take our country back. And November 5th, we fight for our country.
Well, November 3rd, hold on here. Are they talking about Trump getting reelected?
I don't know. I didn't.
Oh, no. Well, November 3rd, we take our country back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's talking about this?
I don't know. It's just a meme. I don't know.
Because here's my point. Isn't Trump already been president for 4 years?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we already have the country?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
For 2 years, Trump spun his wheels, sat on his dead ass, while he had the majority in the House and the Senate. And, well, he had at least, let's put it this way, he had more people. He didn't have all the numbers, but that's why you bribe Democrats. And yet, for 2 years, he sat on his dead ass and didn't do jack squat, and his fellow Republicans didn't step up to the plate, and they fumbled the ball intentionally. So I'm not looking for any inspiration from those jackasses.
Me neither. But I thought that meme was...
Go ahead. Repeat. I was talking over you.
I thought that meme was kind of like cute and ironic. It's like November 3rd, taking our country back. I thought we did that 4 years ago, but
right. But it was not relevant because there was a lot of grease on the tracks and everybody just spun their wheels a lot. But they promised that they won't grease the tracks again and spin the wheels like they did the first 4 years. But don't worry, next year. But you can't expect anything this year. And in fact, for the next year, you can't expect anything because he's got to learn to be president. Wait a minute, he already is president. Yeah, but he's got all these deep state people. You mean the deep state people that he hired? Well, yeah, but he's got to get rid of them now. Well, why did he hire them in the first place? Well, you're just making things difficult. Yeah, I am. Yeah,
but
I am.
Hillary's going to be arrested anytime now.
Yeah, boy, I'm holding my breath for the next 4 years on that one, aren't you?
Oh yeah, just.
In fact, what I picture whenever somebody says that in my brain, you know what I'm thinking is the intermission music from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the Oregon intermission music.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear this. Hillary's gonna, and I go into. That's what's going around in my mind over and over again because I hear this blah 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 blah, and it's like, did I hear this the first year? Actually, didn't I hear this before the election 4 years ago? Well, yeah. And didn't I hear this for the year after the election? Well, yeah. And didn't I hear it 2 years after? Oh, yeah. And 4 years, wait a minute, 4 years brings us up to today. And yeah, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. That's why when I see that stuff in my mails or whatever, it's gone. It's just X'd out. I throw that in the trash so quick and make your head swim. It's just like it's wasting my time. But it's wasting my time because I even have to get it out of my mail and stuff to get rid of it because it's like, oh yeah, this is it. And it's the year 2020 and it's 4 years later, meaning it's 5 years since we started talking that we were going to send her to jail. And with every passing year, do witnesses live longer? I mean, do they drop dead? Do they die by having their heads placed on railroad tracks and having a train squash them flatter? I mean, like those kids in Arkansas with Hillary there, and Bill. With every year that passes, this is like, today. Actually, I did this. I jumped out at me because now it's like, my God, it's 2020. What year did the POW MIA flag first appear, America? What year did the POW MIA flag first appear? Now, I want you to think about that. Today, there was a tire cover on a guy's really nice Jeep pickup truck. Well, Jeep, regular Jeep, whatever. It's a pickup truck with a station wagon rear end. The one with the four doors, but it's a Jeep type configuration, traditional Jeep pattern, but I want to say Commander, but I know it's not it. Anyway, I looked at that for a second. I just wanted to say something, but I didn't, because it's like, well, when I'll tell you something that we haven't talked about a whole lot, but I helped on the periphery of Greitz and those people when they were going after the POWs. They met here in Michigan twice. We actually put funding together and made sure that, resources were made available. And for some of the people who had been hurt in the process, they had to be taken care of. One was in a wheelchair. I met all those guys, all of them. And they had just come back from the one sortie, and they were raising money to go back for the second sortie into Southeast Asia. Okay? That's how far back I go. And I mean, that's way back. Okay? And it's after Vietnam. I mean, I didn't know everything that was going on, and I was hard charger and highly motivated, and I knew how to find things, and I used my gray matter, and I got tied in with that. And because the one character that came back, of course, was a paraplegic and never recovered from his injuries. I mean, as far as he's paralyzed for the rest of his life. But I remember that like it was yesterday. And at that time, that's when all these rats like Biden, all these pigs. McCain, you can't support those radicals. We're going to get the guys back. If you just stop doing anything, we'll get the guys back. Next year, we'll have a committee, and next year, but you guys all got to backstab those guys that are trying to do something. You need to backstab them. You need to, don't talk to them even. Don't talk to them. Next year. And so next year came around, and it was, well, yeah, I know, but we've been really busy. And next year, McLean, who was a dirty prostitute right from the get-go, and Biden, all those turds. What was the other one from the Jewish mobster piece of trash from Ohio? God, Metzenbaum, that piece of trash. All of these characters did they just got to leave, get away from all those radicals. If you just step in line and goose step with us, and next year, and next year, and another year, and next year, and another year, and 10 years later, and 20 years later, and what year is it now? I want you to just think, and again, there was no second parade of planes, and there wasn't any effort to really rescue. And I'll tell you why, one of the reasons that the pigs in government didn't want them rescued. How many men do you know, how many do you think we had captured that were either in northern North Vietnam, northern Cambodia, or the southern end of China? Do you know how many men went into those parts of the country on foot?
A bunch.
Yes, many. Those are some of the POWs that they held on to for years and years and years, beginning in the middle of the Vietnam War, although we were actually in there physically right from the beginning with SF units or other unknown alphabet soup units that were created specifically for the purpose of doing deep physical human intelligence into China. To get to China on foot, they had to go through Cambodia or Vietnam. And those guys got picked off sometimes. They'd be hunted for days, weeks. Hell, it took them a month to walk out. They'd go in, and they knew what they were doing. They were infiltrating and exfiltrating from deep within another country's national territory. And those are the guys that got picked off that, by the way, when you cross-reference a lot of the names of the POWs that people, by word of mouth, Do you remember how we knew who was still in the POW prisons after they released the other POWs? Does everybody remember how we know what the names were? Every prisoner tried to communicate, and did typically, with the prisoners at least in the cells next to them. But there was a whole underground tap system using the pipes in which they used Morse code or other codes to talk to each other. And the first thing when a prisoner, when they would come in, either a new prisoner would go somewhere, is everybody swore that what they would do is memorize everybody's names so nobody could be left behind. How many of you know that? How many remember reading about this? So here's the thing. First-person witnesses, which then McLean and Biden and all the rest of these pig, cowards, spineless turds, all of them said, oh, those guys don't know what they're talking about. Now, wait a minute. You ever been in a prison cell? Have you ever been in a prison cell that you can't get out of, where you're locked down for 24 hours a day? What do you got to do with your time? Who's the guy in the cell next to me? Bob Windsor, Bob Windsor, Bob Windsor, Bob Windsor, Bob Windsor, Bob Windsor of Osceola, Florida. Bob Windsor of Osceola, Florida. Bob, you still there? Yeah, I'm there. Okay, Bob, how you doing? Bob's still there with us. Oh, they're letting us out. Then what are they taking us out of the cells for? Rumor is that they're releasing everybody. Bob Windsor was in the cell to my right. Now, when we're being debriefed, Bob Windsor isn't on the names of all the people that were on the planes that eventually were, shipped out of Vietnam. Where'd Bob Windsor go? In the last week, when everybody left, Bob Windsor was still alive. Why isn't Bob Windsor on the list of surrendered prisoners? Now, remember, I didn't just remember Bob Windsor. I went right down my mental list. If you were there for years, it was like nursery rhymes. You would read the names like nursery rhymes so you would remember them. And your first rule, you didn't have to worry about anything else, but first make sure. I know guys who were POWs. One guy gave us a class, I've told you many times, on escape and evasion. Hell, he was a POW in Korea, and then he got POW in Vietnam. And it's like he said, the first thing you did is you found out who was around you, and everybody already agreed this is how it's going to work. We will, no matter what, we will memorize everybody we meet.
Mark.
So those liars in government and those liars in the Pentagram that left those men behind, I hope they're burning in hell. In fact, I'd like to kick them into hell myself. I'd like to send them on their trip. Seriously, that's just one thing that we have to be patient
I guarantee you. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. We got two voices.
Oh,
there,
I guarantee you, McCain is burning hot right now. Guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, there's levels and there's other things. It can be hot, but not burning. But you'll wish you were burning. But then again, it's going to be forever anyway. We have another caller who's been so patient. Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
Yes, Mark. This is Fluffy. I just wanted to mention something that I forgot to bring up when we were talking about books the other day. A series of books, of which I have 5, is almost like the Unintended Consequences book. It's called the Going Home series. I think there's 7 out now, but the initial story starts with a man who's a computer programmer on his way home when all of a sudden his car stalls. Everything, all the cars stall. It's from an EMP attack. And he has to get home across about 3 states on foot. Fortunately, he is at least somewhat of a prepper, and he has a firearm and some preparatory stuff in the trunk of his vehicle. And it's basically a story of his trip home and the trials and tribulations he goes through, and arm and tactical recommendations. I do recommend it as a pretty good read, and it's somewhat educational. And again, it's the Going Home series, and the author's nom de plume is A. American. I think that stands for Angry American, but that's it. A American, the Going Home series. And I believe there are 7 now, but at least 5. My recommendation. I'm out.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll have to look up. We'll see how many are in the series. Did we have another voice? I heard another person. Do we have another caller? I won't leave anybody out. I know we start talking, and if you speak up, I want to make sure you get up on the air. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to ask you, I gave you all a homework assignment. Did anybody find out where the term redneck originally came from and how it came to the ridge, how it came down to Tennessee and Kentucky? I did give you a big hint. Of course, I gave you location. But just a heads up there. A couple other things here real quick before we go too far. Let's not forget, in terms of ammunition, I know a lot of people are scrabbling right now. Well, of course, now everybody's with bated breath. They're probably holding their card in one hand and watching the screen with the other and waiting. They're not listening to us right now. They're doing something else because they're watching the controlled media that lies all the time and expecting some kind of honest result from them. Oh, Lord, think about that. They're lying all the time. I got to watch ABC. Well, ABC is lying. Yeah, but I got to watch it. Well, why? Because I got to watch it.
I'm just curious how obvious the book fraud will be.
Right, that's the only reason you watch it. It's like I said, I don't watch presidential speeches for the same reason, although, again, like I said, Trump's no dummy. That's why, I'm serious, guys. This was a total fake across the board, but no matter what, it's designed to be a shipwreck today. The reason the second debate had to be canceled is because Trump literally could walk circles around the Bidenite, hands down with, basically both arms tied behind his back, blindfolded and with, one leg tied up around his rear end, and he has to hop like a pogo stick. He still could beat the living snot out of the old, the stunt dummy Biden.
And half a brain.
Yeah, with half a, yeah. Well, and still, yeah, but you can't really peel back his brain, but you can do everything else to hamper him physically. The thing is that they had to cancel it because whatever electronics, whatever drugs they're using to prop him up when they keep him in the public area, it's like Hillary the Hutt. You have to wonder. I mean, it's going to be a story unto itself when we fight this war, and we have to fight it. Really, can we go any farther with any of this garbage? We can't. Something's got to kick it off. So we really have to keep pressing it until it goes. Seriously, and he might be distressed by that. Oh no, we can no. It's going to be like 2025. No, it's not. We'll be fighting maybe by 20. Well, we'll be in the middle of the war by 2025. But we better be, because none of you are getting any younger. You want to wait till 2025, 2022, 2023? Okay, in the middle. You really want to wait? I mean, how much more waiting and preparing? Okay, since you supposedly were prepared already, or you've been preparing, you should have been pretty well squared away. You'll never have enough of whatever you want, but you should be pretty well squared away, because most of you listening here probably have an idea about what's going on. So what did you do? Sit on your hands? Drink the Kool-Aid about how just stand down and wait? Whatever they're doing, you don't stand down for any of what you're doing. You can listen to their buffoonery from a distance, smile and wave. Oh, yeah, we're not doing that. Piss off. We're doing whatever it is necessary to be prepared for what it is going to have to be done. Now, this is where it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But like I said, the whole scam with putting a meat puppet like Biden up there, well, he's a pedophile. I mean, come on. The pedos had to have their creature up there. They got the other commie twit up there. At the very least, their names are on the book, so half people never remember who ran against whoever actually won for president. I mean, half the time you put a gun over somebody's head, they could not remember. Okay. Example: what was the name of Lyndon Baines Johnson's vice president? Anybody? Now, go ahead. I'm making you think. You should know it because, by the way, hint, 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 he did run for president. Yeah. See? Now, granted, that's been quite a few years back, but who ran against Richard Milhouse Nixon the second time? What was his name? We had a lot of Georges. Did I give you a big hint there? Did I give you a big hint? We had a lot of Georges out there. Who ran against Richard Milhouse Nixon in 1972? In fact, what was his vice presidential?
McGovern.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
McGovern.
And what was his cohort? Remember? Walter.
Mondale.
Walter.
I don't know who that was.
Walter.
No
What are you
idea.
doing, Walter? So, again, guys, think about it. What they've done here, the only thing that's going to make this memorable is the level of hypocrisy and just flat-out lying and criminal fraud going on that we're supposed to eat. And I have no use for it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care about the pundits' quotes of the day or whatever. The numbers are absolute buffoonery and lies. It's purely a matter of, 6:48 right now. At 8 o'clock, if they have to hold the polls over like they did 4 years ago to doctor the numbers and to fake everybody out, what they'll do is they'll call the party, and the party will claim that they're checking the numbers for the election. And in reality, what they will do is they will go down to the next tier and tell them what to say. They will lie about the numbers that are collected, and then you will hear whatever the lie is that they generate for the final solution based upon what Haifa and Tel Aviv and Brussels and Communist China tell them. That's how your election is going to end tonight. So watch and see what happens. We'll see what happens. Like I said, it's not an election anyway, because an election would take place in one day. This is not an election. As far as I'm concerned, it's done. It's cool. You can open your Facebook. You did vote, or you did vote. It's like it was totally irrelevant. I got a figure, just like I said, in Michigan alone, if I got as many write-in ballots and other people's ballots for people that either dead or not living here, all these other asshats out here got them and didn't tell anybody or didn't say a word. They just sent them in. So tell me how that's an election. That pretty well nails it right there as far as I'm concerned. So, again, what do we have to do? Well, first of all, I want to get to AIM Surplus because we always like to go to AIM Surplus. Why? Because, AIM Surplus has cool stuff. So over at aimsurplus.com, yes, I did mean AIM Surplus, you asshats. Oh, God, I hate this. It's the usual glitch with the systems, and I'm not on the machine all the time here, so, in fact, most of the time I'm not. So aimsurplus.com, by the way. And let's check their ammo just to see what they have. Just because I'd be curious. Have they gotten any more? Is there any more to be had? Have they gotten anything unique? You guys cleaned out that 7mm Magnum ammo so fast. It was like, gone. It was like, ooh, tasty. And that's cool. I like that. That means everybody, did their part, did what we were supposed to do. Interestingly enough, this is interesting, yes. Interestingly enough, AIM's page doesn't want to work. Okay, let's refresh this and see what happens. It goes to the page. Okay. Come on, AIM Surplus, do it for me. Well, I guess I'll come back later. We'll see why that's glitching. That's not the first one I've had happen today. In fact, several of them have. The other one real quick is centerfire systems. Let's see if any of these are working. It'd be interesting if they're down because, after all, what difference would it make? If you're mail ordering stuff, you won't see it for days anyway, right? But if the system has shut them down, which would be fascinating, then I wouldn't be surprised. Oh. Well, I do see something interesting that's not outrageously priced, and is not super excited about it. In fact, for $100 less, I'd go another way. If you guys are looking for some interesting stuff that has been picked up by centerfire, the Garasar Fear. Oh, it's a fear gun. Ooh, I didn't even pay attention until I really read the name of this thing. It's the Fear V12 semi-auto shotgun. Looks like kind of like an AR-15. The first one does. And that's $399 if it looks like an AR-15, okay? Then they have the tubular stock version, a tubular magazine version, which is the Gairasar Fear 12 gauge with an 18-inch barrel. Fear model, the Fear 120, Fear Man. And that's $300 as opposed to $400 for the first one. Another one which looks like the Trevor, those Israeli piece of trash that you try to avoid buying because they're grossly overpriced and they're all plastic. Gairasar MKA 1923 model, which is the MKA 1923 Black, is $500, and it's a magazine-fed shotgun like the first one that's there. You might want to go look at the page. The gun that would be most interesting is the middle gun on the banner down below. It's not in the banner, it's actually in the body of the page. It looks to be a pump gun. It is pump gun for $300, and it is in 3-inch Magnum. It has all kinds of tactified plastic on it. Take a look at it, see if it floats your boat. If it's something that makes sense for you, double plus good, thumbs up, go get it. Same with the rest, but they are something that they haven't had on the page in any big numbers recently here, but those three are, right up on the front scroll. Also, Fear 103T, another Fear gun. Are you fearful yet? Well, you will be when you're done buying these. I'm fearful of this one, son. It is it's another shotgun right here. I believe it is a Fear AK style 18.5-inch 3-inch Magnum 5-round Fear 103 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun in 12, but it is an AK action. Let's put it this way: at the very least, it has an AK type safety. Looks to be an AK type bolt carrier group and charging handle. Basic silhouette of the AK like the Sega guns, etc. So you might want to take a look at it. $694.99. Now I'm going to warn you about all of these guns. Something that most people wouldn't. Have you ever heard of this company? Probably not. Do you know how long it's been in the country? Probably not. Do you think that there's a big spare parts system for this? Probably not. So, what would I recommend? If you were to buy one of these types of guns, you find out what inventory they have in the way of parts, and the moment that you know you're going to buy this, you get hold of Gairasar, and you order a firing pin, extractor, and ejector for each gun that you buy. At least one, although personally I do 2 of each because this is an orphan firearm. But if you really got your heart set on it, then also plan ahead and buy the spare parts. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, the Trevor, by the way, somebody said Trevor, it is a bullpup. This is a bullpup shotgun. It's cool looking. I mean, from a distance, you'd think it was a Trevor rifle. So in that respect, if some of you guys have those and you're looking for supplemental guns, 12-gauge version of the Trevor type design is not a bad pattern. It doesn't take up much space, very small by comparison, but it is a full-length barrel, so they can't say anything about that. It must be within legal limits with overall length, but I'm going to warn you about something. The Fed, the bat faggots, are overturning their decisions on AR pistols. Does anybody remember that they've done this before with the shotguns? Does anybody remember when they did this with shotguns before? With Bush? The second Bush, not the first one, the second Bush. I told you before, these Republic rats are the ones who have passed all the anti-gun stuff, gone after gun owners under the cover of their fakery as a Republic rat. Okay, as in reality being a neocon piece of trash communist. So I would point out that it is a cool gun, but I would just make it disappear if you were looking at a gun to maybe put in the cache. Bullpups are great for cache weapons because they take up less space, not because they're necessarily your best shoulder weapon, but because they take up less space for storage in a cache. Everything that you can make smaller, an AR-15, you can break it into 2 pieces and put it into a tube, and it takes up less space. We've talked about this many times. If you can break down a weapon, shotguns are great. You can pull the barrel, and now you've knocked the length down from the buttstock to the magazine cap on the end. That's it. Now your barrel should sit right next to it. Takes up a lot less space. Nice for stowage. Bullpup designs are the same way, but you don't have to take them apart. They're just good the way they are. So heads up on that. Again, just ideas, looking at some of the problems and what you're facing. Shotgun ammunition is still readily available and has been out there. Shot shell ammo is devastating. I don't want to get shot by anything, and I sure as hell don't want to get shot by somebody with a whole magazine full of number 4 buck or double-aught buck, or for that matter, birdshot. Doesn't matter what it is. I just don't want to get shot anyway. But in this case, yeah, it's devastating. So just something to think about there. Another thing real quick is body armor. Guys, now you may have noticed, how many of you, I know some of you have, how many of you bought the Polish armor I told you to buy months ago? And how many of you have bought some of the British armor that's the last that's available in surplus? Have you got both of them? I want you to take and do a little class for all of your buddies. Had they all been listening, they could have had that that more modern Polish armor, which, by the way, still had all kinds of pockets for putting steel or for that matter, any other number of metal or poly solutions for trauma plates in all those pockets. Lift up that Polish armor and then lift up that British armor, and yeah, the DPM camo armor is kind of on the beefy end. Yeah, it is. Very, very different weight-wise, but it's from a slightly different era from the Polish armor that was the counterpart. The system is still usable, but especially think about this. I know that those British DPM camo vests are heavy. I told you that beforehand. But where they're really great is your truck is going to carry all the weight, not you. So for armoring up your seats, those British vests are perfect. Okay? Just something to think about there. In fact, a lot of the guys have said, man, it's almost like I got a lumbar support now because the way they sit on the seat. That's like, yes, they are. Plus, remember, when the DPM camo vests that are out there at Sportsman's Guide right now, the ones that are British body armor, about $85 a piece, when those were built, the pockets up front, I suspected, and now I've confirmed, were actually supposed to carry a heavier ceramic or ceramicized and steel combination wafer armor to go as a center shock trauma plate. The larger square area of the two, there was a standard series of plates that were made back in the day when those vests came out and when the next generation came out, in which they created both a front and a back smaller shock trauma, bigger than the one you have on your undercover vest, but a larger shock trauma plate designed to stop rifle. In addition to the armor, soft armor you have underneath. Do a little research. You'll find out what I'm talking about. Anyway, we're going to go to break for a little bit. We got an hour, and meanwhile, God bless the Republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run.
And we are on the march both day and night.
And somebody's asking about the ceramic plates. I don't know if they're available. Probably somebody has them as surplus out there. The Brits might have kept them because they still use that. They don't throw things away right away, or they sell them to dictators trying to kill us. Anyway, we're going to take off for now. Ed taking over. More live Liberty Tree Radio coming up here. And we will be back at 8 o'clock for the evening Intel Report. God bless. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.
And the sun will always shine on the old